Happy Thursday, ladies and gentlemen. This is Blake Anderson with Real Life Trading. Had some requests regarding interactive brokers, and basically the question that I get a lot of times when I'm in the leading the room, moderating the room is, Blake, how'd you get your order in so fast? How'd you make adjustments? All that good stuff. And I'm here to show you guys. So, couple disclaimers, some things just to think about along the way is do not get so caught up in the setup that I have regarding where my time in sales, order entry, especially don't get caught up in the charting. I repeat, I do not use these charts to analyze my trade. In fact, I only use these charts to trade off of via Chart Trader, which is an interactive brokers feature. I use my charting with tradingview.com. Great software. So don't get caught up into that too much. Also, do not get caught up into the actual order that we're doing. These are not typical setups. These are our examples. So please don't ask me, hey, Blake, what setup were you trading? Because this is not really made for setups. It's more made for what I will call right here towards the bottom left, the buttons and then hotkeys. There can be plenty of other videos that I am more than happy to do that show typical setups that I use or other things such as order entry types that we'll be talking about. For example, a buy stop limit, a sell stop limit, just a buy limit or sell limit. Hey, just a buy order or sell order. How about some alerts, those type things. So I apologize. I will touch on them very generically, but I won't go into too much detail about what those are. So if you have questions about those, throw those in the comments section. And Real Life Trading has more reference videos than you can imagine in its library. So if you have questions about buy stop limits and all that stuff, those will be posted. I'm sure we'll just throw those out in conjunction with this video because I'm sure we'll have some questions. So let's just dive in really fast. So what I have up here is just a 15-minute intraday chart of AMD, and right here is just a 3-month daily. Again, guys, I don't use this for my visuals for trading. It's just a really fast way to use Chart Trader to kind of drag some lines that we'll be talking about. So let's dive into this. First of all, my entire screen isn't showing. This is an order entry area and interactive brokers. This is time and sells and 2 charts right here. So really fast, let's talk about some things. Presets right here. And I know there's other places to do this. So this configuration window that's coming up right here, let me show you where else that is. If you click on File, go to Global Configuration, it's going to have all the settings. All right, so if I click on this, to the left, your entire menu is there. It actually brings me where we just were under presets and stocks. So let's talk about some presets. When you're choosing defaults throughout order entry types, things such as that, you will have an option to choose default. And what I'm going to do is set up my default here. So let's just say time in force is good till cancel. So GTC, you can fill all this out if you want. I do check allow order to be activated, triggered, or filled outside of regular trading hours. You know, if I'm in say a swing trade and I have an order out there, of course I want it to get filled after hours if I'm trying to sell a position that I'm in. So I like for that to be checked. You do not have to do it. My basic quantity size is 100 shares. For you ballers, you can change that to 1,000 if you want, 10,000. For you guys that are starting out like I did, you can change it to 5, 10 shares. All is acceptable. An R is an R. And all this other stuff, feel free to adjust. We're not going to talk about that today, but yeah, feel free to customize any of that stuff. There's lots of options. You know, trading is a business, so do spend time on this stuff. It does matter. Okay, so back out here. So you guys can see I already have some pre-generated buttons down here. Now, we'll touch on the difference between the buttons and the hotkeys. But for now, let's just go ahead and click on that settings again. It's going to bring up those buttons right here. So this is Chart Trader. So the other way to get into that is click here, go back into global configuration, charts, submenu, chart trader submenu, and then buttons, right? So also take the time to go through these. There's lots of cool options you may not have known about. So these are the ones that I have that are pulled up. So let's walk through an example. And let's do this. Instead of drilling into one that I currently have, let's create a new one. So let's just mimic this buy stop order. Just really fast, if you guys are curious what a buy stop order is used for, it's typically used for breakouts. So new, and you're gonna get the sub menu right here under select action. Start out very simple, just say buy, and it's gonna give you some presets to choose from. So one thing you can do is this generate label just keeps this at buy. If you want to customize it, uncheck it, and then click right here, and then just say buy. We'll just call it a buy stop limit. All right, and then you can customize the colors. Let's just make this, how about this pretty teal color? There you go. Let's change this foreground, which is basically the font, to black, more visually appealing. Cool. All right, so we have our button made up, and it's going to look like that down there. This is actually, when I throw this button down there, it's going to give me 2 rows. So now for the actual actions itself, 2 options, buy or sell. We know this is a buy. Now, the presets, we set all that up already. So the default is going to refer to those presets that we set up. However, if you have not done that yet, you can do absolute. You say, all right, for this button, I want to do 100 shares, whatever it may be. But let's just keep it to default, because I would encourage you guys and gals to go ahead and set those up. So size is default, which will be 100 shares for me. Order type, we already clarified that this is going to be a stop limit, because we're going to trade a breakout here. All right. So let's do stop limit. And your limit price is, so for all these, actually click on chart trader price, and I'll explain why. Actually, I'll go ahead and touch on that. So if I were to choose the bid here, and when I click on the button, it's going to put my cursor exactly where the bid currently is trading. I don't want that. I want the option to be able to go to chart trader. So when I click that button, drag my cursor and put it where I want it. So that's what chart trader price gives me, rather than when I click the button, it goes into the bid or ask. Okay. So just put chart trader for that, and we'll do the same, up here. But just know that I always try and use chart trader price. So your limit price, well, let's talk about your stop price first. Your stop price is actually your trigger. So let's just say that we're wanting to trade a stock when it touches 20. Let's say it's currently trading at $19.95. When it touches 20, we want our order to be triggered, right? So we don't want the stop price to have any offset at all. That trigger needs to be exactly where we put it. Now for our limit price, we're going to give it a little bit of room. And basically what we're going to do is say, hey, I'm going to give it 0.1%. I always do percent. And the reason I do percentage is because, if we come over here and we do amount, let's say I do 10 cents. Well, that 10 cents is going to, it may be relevant for a $10 stock, but it may not be relevant for a $400 stock. So I just want to do percent, because that's going to be relative to the price no matter what. All right, cool. And again, guys, I know you may have some questions right here about what am I talking about. That's a totally different video. I'm sure I'll end up answering some of those questions. But for the purpose of this video and not keeping you guys 5 hours, just know that, let's just start with 0.1% above your trigger price. And what that says is, hey, I'm okay with a little bit of slippage, but don't market me in at any crazy price. Now, customize all this. If 0.1% you find out is too large, trade it to 0.05%. Still too large? 0.03. If you say, hey, I'm not getting filled, these things are breaking out, and I'm okay with a little bit more slippage, maybe 0.15. But you also have a chance, once you enter the order on the screen, to also fully customize those or alter them before you send the order live. All right. But for purposes of this video, I'll just do 0.1% for now. So we're saying, hey, on the breakout, fill me or trigger me at the stop price. And you know what, Mr. Broker? You're allowed to give me slippage up to 0.1% of the stock price. That's it. Now, that's your trigger price. That's your entry. We also want to do profit taker and attach stop order. So you're basically going to have 3 orders that are going to generate off this button. Now, this is a huge time saver because you don't have to click 3 different buttons. If you do and that makes you more comfortable, just make this a buy. You don't have to do a stop limit, or do a stop limit, but you don't have to fill these out. But I like to. It's efficient, gives me more speed. So what I'm going to do is a target, right? So on the target, chart trader price, and I'm getting filled on a breakout upwards to the bullish side. So what I'm going to say is, let's go back over to the percent, and let's say 2%. And I'll tell you why in just a second. So now I'm going to do the same thing. Let's do an attached stop loss. Just like I did my entry, I'm going to tell the broker, hey, if I get stopped out, it's cool to stop me out within a certain range. If you're okay with market, just do stop. And your stop price, do chart trader. And it's going to be a market order. So let's say your stop's at $19.50. If the stock drops just a crazy amount, they could fill you at $19 if they wanted to. Versus if you do a stop limit, you say, hey, trigger me, but don't give me some crazy fill. So I always do stop limits. I've very rarely not gotten filled within my parameters. So the stop price, which will be the trigger price, let's do -1%. Why, Blake? How'd you come up with that number? Well, I just did this. When trading, most traders, most profitable traders I know, don't even trade, have a win rate of 50% at times, but they're very good at proportionally taking more or getting more profits than losing. So let's say 1%, and these are just, random numbers that I'm choosing, but they're easy math numbers. So let's say the stop limit is going to be at 1% below my entry, and my target is going to be at 2% above. And that'll give me a visual of that 2 to 1 immediately. Now, granted, we're going to move those around because these are just going to throw the lines and the targets on the chart. The actual numbers that we come up with will differ, but these will get the lines on the chart for us to kind of throw those lines around really fast. And you guys will see what I'm talking about. All right, so that is the stop price, 1% below. Now, you could choose other options here, but stop limit, just like the breakout, we had a limit after the stop, or a stop limit 0.1% above. What I want to do on this one is reference the stop price. So I'm going to put stop here, and what I'll say is, let's do -0.1% below my stop price. So essentially, the stop limit price is 1.1% below my entry, or 0.1% below my stop, which is 1% below my entry. All right. Feel free to pause the video right here if you need to digest that, because I know I'm just throwing out a lot of words, but you guys will have access to video that you can pause or rewind. So let's review what we have here. We have a buy stop limit button. It's pretty. We took off the generate label so we could customize the words that are in there. The action is buy. We created defaults, right? So if you didn't, just do absolute 100 or whatever it is it may be. So we're going to get triggered on a breakout using a stop limit order via the chart trader price that we select. We're going to give slippage 0.1%. Now the bracket orders around that, or really the OCO, or one cancels the other orders, will be profit takers going to be 2% above, and because we like a 2 to 1 minimum reward to risk opportunity, the stop limit price will be 1% below. So we'll get triggered on stop 1% below, and the actual stop limit price is 0.1% below that to allow a little bit of slippage, but not very much. All right, so the other option you guys will see here is transmit the order instantaneously. Now, I do not check this for my buttons. If I'm using buttons, that means I have a little bit of time. I'm okay with it. Now, when you click this, Interactive Brokers is going to give you a warning saying, hey, just beware, when you click this button, your order is live and ready to go. If you get filled, it's not our fault. You're agreeing to it here. So just for these purposes, I'm not going to click this yet. We'll do it for hotkeys, but not for these buttons. So hit OK. You guys see this generated right here. Let's move this up so we can see it visually pop up down here. So watch right here. When I hit apply, boom, there it is. So now it's on my chart. All right, so I'm going to hit OK. Now, here's AMD. Let's say, hypothetically, we want to trade AMD on a breakout. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit and see if we can get a feel. So I'm going to click on this, and let's see if we generated this order correctly. All right, so I just clicked on it. Now, you guys see my blue cursor scrolling. This was the chart trader feature instead of doing bid or ask. If I would have done bid or ask and hit that button, that line would have automatically come up right there. Let's say the ask is 23.52. It would have thrown this line up here. But because I did chart trader, it allows me to come up here. And let's just say I want to get filled right here at 23.54, a breakout of this. Again, guys, this is not a typical order I would take. We're just doing this for the purposes of throwing out these button orders. So also you see sell limit came up here, 2 to 1. So 2% above my price that I threw right here. And then the stop's 1. So it shows you that 2 to 1 reward to risk. Now also, look at these lines. This T right here just means transmit. And the CXL means cancel. All right? So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and just hit transmit. So when you guys go, Blake, how'd you throw that order out so fast? That was it. I just did it. So that order is live now with 100 shares. Now what I could do is say, hey, I actually didn't want my stop there. I want my stop right here. So I can move it up or down in the order entry area, which I'll show you guys in just a second. I can just manually type that in. And if I say, hey, let's leave target 2. Let's do target 2 right, right in this area. Let's say 23.80. Cool. So let me adjust this really fast. All right, cool. So you guys can see down here at the bottom of the screen, adjust this one more time. At the bottom of the screen, how the order generated. Don't worry about this key, that's for reference and order number. But 100, 100. And what you can do is at this point, you could, if you said, hey, actually, I want to take a partial up here at 23.65, for example, you could absolutely do that. That would basically just be a sell for me. And you see how I just threw that up there. And I'm going to say, all right, cool. I'm going to take some here at 23.64. I don't want to take 100. I'll just take 50. So I'm going to trade in halves. Transmit, good to go. Boom, everything's set up. Now, remember, these are OCO orders. So let me move this down since we threw that order up there. So if this stop loss is triggered, it'll cancel these. And these will proportionally change to, if I get filled here, then I can change this profit taker to 50 as well. Cool. So that's pretty simple. That was the button for buy stop limit. Customize. So another thing to look at, let's look at this stop loss really fast. So if I click on, actually, let's do this. Click on the master one. Oh, you guys can't see that. Anyways, basically what it says is my stop limit is, or my stop's at 23.38. My stop limit's at 23.27. So now if you click on this, that it will show you the details. Use it on the master one right here. And you can adjust those within that. Cool. So I'm going to just leave that order open. Maybe it fills. We can kind of get a real live look at how that works. But no, that order is live and ready to go. So what I'm going to do is go back into this configure screen, and we're going to talk about some hotkeys. I'll go ahead and delete this right here. So I'm just going to click on this and click remove, because basically this button is the same thing for me, right? So if I go into here and we look at this, it's basically the same thing that we just talked about. All right, cool. So buy stop limit, sell stop limit for shorting a breakdown, buy limit if I'm trying to buy into support, sell limit if I'm trying to sell into resistance. All these have multiple orders just like we just saw. And then buy will be very similar to what we just saw when I clicked on sell, which is just a very simple buy or sell order. And if I'm trying to take partials, whatever it may be. Alerts, just an alert system, just like it sounds. And then close is basically an emergency key. And you guys can see this right here. It's not active right now because I'm not in this position, but once I get filled, this close button will light up. And basically what it means is, say you guys are trading at work. We've never done that, right? We're not guilty of trading on work's time, but let's say you are, and someone says, hey, Jeremy, we've got to go to this meeting. You can just hit close. It'll close out that position via market order. Very rarely use that. In fact, I couldn't tell you the last time I did. And this hotkey pop-up is just a sub-menu showing what hotkeys I have generated in case I forget what they are. So it's always nice to have that sub-menu. Now, you should, once you use these for a couple of weeks, you should memorize these pretty well, but it is nice to have that sub-menu. Always leave it there if needed. Cool. So I hope that helps. Feel free to pause here if you need to, because we're about to go into hotkeys. All right, cool. So I actually just got filled on this. So let's take a look at this really fast. You guys see how that filled? That's open. Now we can come down here if we wanted to. And let's just say, profit taker. Let's move that to 50. Cool. So now we'll have 50 filled here, 50 filled here. If this stop gets filled down here, it'll cancel these two profit taker orders. So maybe we'll get filled on these as well. And we'll see what happens. So again, this is not a reflection on an order that, or a trade that I would actually take. Who knows if it works? Don't care. The real purpose is to show you how this works. So actually, so we can get a little bit more action during this video, I'm just going to move this stop up because I wouldn't mind that stop getting hit and showing you guys how it cancels the other orders. And I'll just move this down as well just to see if we get some filled. Okay. So just adjusting some orders here. You guys can manually do them down here if you'd like, but that's one way that I do that. So let's go back in here. I forgot to hit apply when I was deleting that one button. So let's do this, remove, apply. So I'll go back to my former look on these charts. Now let's talk about hotkeys because a lot of people want to do hotkeys. So if you just over the top, I guess overall, just some things to think about when you're creating hotkeys. Two things. A, do what's comfortable for your hands and where your hands rest. And then B, interesting. And then B, sorry about that, guys. I had a few orders getting filled. And then B, do something that you can remember. So for me, you guys can see on my hotkey guide right here, I don't use all these, but the ones that have the shift right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, C, those are the ones that I use because I can memorize them and I can reference them. So the way that I did it was, this is shift 1, this is shift 2, this is shift 3, shift 4, shift 5, and so on. I should have shift, there we go, down here. So shift 5, shift 6, all right? Guys, you can do whatever. In my previous life, I did a lot of quick trading where I did nothing but hotkeys. I could navigate around my entire screens with hotkeys. We do everything from shift A or just resting your fingers on ASDF, the home keys, and each one of those meant something. But for this now, I'm a little bit different trader. All I do is shift 1, shift 2, shift 3, and so on. So let me show you guys what that looks like. So currently, if I wanted to hit a hotkey, let's say, let me go to a different chart. Let's go to NVIDIA, since we're on these semis. And let's say I wanted to short NVIDIA below this 154.16 area, all right? So I'm gonna do a sell stop, right? So I'm just gonna hit shift 2. So when I hit shift 2, now this red line just automatically generated. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna say, all right, if it breaks this, let's get short. You guys see how it threw those lines up there? Now I'm gonna say, wait a second, I don't wanna wait that long to take profits. So I'll just move this up. Let's say this is my ultimate target. Let's move this down and say my stops right here. Now, let's talk about something really important with these hotkeys is you guys remember the setting Let me show you. Let's go into, I'll just go ahead and go into hotkeys. So hotkeys is right here above the buttons. A little bit more complex look here, but just know if you go to say buy or sell, you can do that. So what we just did was a sell. We'll go to create shortcut. Don't worry about this right now. I'll get back to this. But you guys remember this, transmit the order instantaneously. So on my hotkeys, I do check that. So let's hop back out here. So when I hit that and clicked on my chart, I didn't have the option for transmit over here. It automatically generated that order. You see that down here? It said, all right, boom. You said you want it instantaneously. We'll give it to you instantaneously. Now, guys, if you're not comfortable with that, make sure you do not check that box. And we'll review it one more time in just a second when we're setting up a hotkey. But if I'm using hotkeys, it's probably because I need speed. I do this a lot of times when I'm on the mic. I need speed. I need to set it up really, really fast. And that's typically how I do it. So this is a live and active order as well. And I'll leave it on. It's fine. Typically wouldn't trade 100 shares on a demo, but you know what? Let's add a little spice to the video. So I'll leave that open for now. Basically what happens if this fills right here, these are also going to become, active orders. So right now these won't get filled, but unless this master order gets filled. So you can see that on this right here. These branches saying this is the master. We need that one to get filled before these two turn on. So let's jump into hotkeys really fast. I think a lot of people were very, very curious about those. Again, let me preface this by saying, make it customizable, make it yours. So let's do it this way. Let's go up here to File, Global Configuration. Charts already went, Chart Trader, Hotkeys. So this is what the hotkey submenu looks like. I know it looks like a lot, but take your time, guys. Review all the different options that are here. There's plenty of them that get pretty complex. But for purposes of this video, let's just do something very, very simple. So let's say that we want to buy something. All right. So let's just go on this buy right here. Go up here, click Create Shortcut. And this is going to pop up, and you have keyboard, current keyboard shortcut. You see nothing there. So what we're going to do is when you click record, now whatever you press on your keyboard is going to become your hotkey. So let's just say for buy, I want to use the letter B. There you go. So you guys see how the letter B generated here. Awesome. So that would be buy now. Let's clear it. Let's do one more. Let's do Shift B. There you go. Clear. Let's say, so I'm on a Mac right now. So let's say Command B. All right. So you guys see how that generates? It's there. That's your hotkey now. So Command B would be buy for me. So I'll just clear this. Let's do just B. All right. So that's good. You're fine there. Time to move on. Let's go to customize, and just very similar. You could do, if you wanted to do that buy stop order, you just do the same thing, and you generate the fields very similar to what we did previously. I won't dive into that. I'll save you guys the time. But let's talk about one thing really fast. So I'll just leave all this default. This is just basically going to be that buy button that I have out there. Very simple buy order. So the one thing to note that we talked about was this transmit the order instantaneously. Guys, this is extremely important. So for hotkeys, let's say, boom, let's do that. Yes, because I'm using a hotkey and I want to be really fast, I want it to transmit instantaneously. So let's hit OK, apply, and you guys see how it generated down here. Buy, the hotkey is B. It's also Shift 5 for me. So whether I hit Shift 5 or B, it's going to give me the same order at this point. But you guys customize all this. If you click on them, you can delete or you can configure from this menu. I could probably delete some of these, but I've had these for a while, so I haven't really messed with them. So we'll just leave that there. We'll hit apply. Now let's talk about what happens here. So we may get filled on this order here. So let's just say, trying to think of a stock. Let's go over to GE. Now let's say we want to get filled at 10:35. All right. So let's say I hop over this. Someone says you need to get filled at 10:35 really fast, Blake. One second. I say, okay, cool. So I'm going to hit B. Now you see what happened. I just got filled immediately because that was what I had programmed into that hotkey, was probably to fill it on the ask price. So I got filled immediately on that. So if I say, oh, I don't want to do that, you need to go back in and adjust that hotkey. So I'll do this really, really fast. So what I'm going to do is go down here to this buy and say, no, I didn't want to get filled like that. Configure, customize, default. I need to change these to chart trader price. Okay. So now watch what happens. Apply, okay. Let's say I hit right. Let's say I click right here at 1033 and I hit B. Now it gives me the option to throw that on the actual chart. So extremely important right there that you make sure that those are in the right places at all times, or you will get random fills like that. Make sure your share size is either set to a good default or that you change that to an absolute value like 100 shares, 10 shares, or 10,000 shares, whatever it may be. Now let's say, no, Blake, I don't want that to generate instantaneously. Cool, let's cancel that. Go back into settings, go pick into hotkeys, scroll back down here, see where it says buy at chart trader price. It changed the description for it. So let's go to configure, customize, and uncheck this. Now let's watch what happens. Hit apply, hit OK. So I'm gonna do that same thing. I'm gonna throw out B. I'm just gonna hit B. All right, so you guys see now when I hit B, it said, all right, cool, you're ready to buy. Where do you want to put it? Let's say 1033, generated. Notice that the T is here now, meaning transmit. It's also right here. You can also transmit it right here. So you have two options for the transmit, or you can cancel. So that's a more safe play. I use those with my buttons, with my hotkeys. They're automatically on there. All right, so if I do my hotkey, which does it automatically, you know, if I go shift 5, boom, it hit it, right? I didn't click on. So you can see the difference right there. I just got filled on those. All right. So another good example right here, close. You guys see I hit that close button. It took me out of my GE position. And you guys can see all those got filled down here. So, yep. I think that's about it, guys. As always, feel free to ask questions. We'll call this the first of the IB series, if that's what you want. And guys, we also got filled on, what other did we get filled on? So we got filled on AMD. We did not get filled on our target prices, but filled there. 2660, nope. Did we get filled on NVIDIA? Let's look. I really wish. Yep, we got filled here. Now watch this. Let me show this to you guys. Let's say I had my stop order right here. I hope that fills me, and it'll cancel this order. Watch. Let me actually just make this thing generate. All right, did you guys see that? It filled my stop order right there, and it also canceled my other one. So it'll do OCO for you. You guys want another example just to see how that works, just so you feel comfortable. Let's go to AMD. So we're filled here. Let's move this stop up to here so it'll fill. Let me just throw it out there almost right where the bid is. Oh, there we go. It did it. So now this order's still here. Now remember, guys, this was not the attached order. This is the separate order that I threw out for partial. So you'll have to keep an eye on these at times to make sure that you cancel them appropriately. I have gotten filled on orders that I did not want to get filled on. So you're still a trader, still a business. You have to keep an eye on these things. But guys, I hope that really helped. What I was saying before we generated those orders was that, you know, I can do more of these if you want to dive into detail. But hopefully that video gives you an opportunity to pause and see how I set them up, customize from there, mainly your stop limits. So if you want something tighter than say 0.1% or whatever, you know, customize those things. So guys, I hope that helps out a lot. Feel free to ask questions. We'll leave some references if you had any questions about order types, whether it's buy stop limits, sell stop limits, or just buy or sell limits. All those things are completely different lessons. So we'll reference that stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, Uh, as always, let me know if you have questions. Trade awesome out there, and see everyone soon.